Lords of the Fallen is set to release, and we already have multiple hotfixes, including a day 1 update already. We have the release times that are a bit confusing, along with the pre-download and whether you'll be able to on which platform. We also have the review embargo that just dropped and is finally out, and a few other notable mentions. We got a lot to talk about. What's up, World Tripper? Back in the rear checking out all things Lords of the Fallen. Okay, so first off, let's just go into the release times, what the kind of discourse is there, and the confusion with that. As like with some recent titles, we've just had some weird release times, whether it's on PC or console. It could also depend on your local region time, but with the case of Lords of the Fallen, this is a midnight release for console and a global release for the PC. So again, just like AC Mirage, the console players will be receiving the actual game early, where a PC player through Steam will not be receiving it until October 13th, or at least in the morning of October 13th, and in some cases October 14th. So again, whatever your local time is on any console, Xbox, Xbox Series X, S, PS5, you can't expect to play the game at midnight your local time. So again, the NZ trick and the way to play early does apply here, so if you want to do that while you're on Xbox, you can play early. This doesn't work on PlayStation. From all that I read, PlayStation, you have to make a new account, purchase a game through that account as well. There's also some few trickeries there, so if you wanted to play it early with the New Zealand trick on PlayStation, you're going to have to jump through a few hoops. Now, Steam does seem to be getting the short end of the stick here, where everybody is receiving it at a global time, but it is much later. In fact, it's around 7 to 10 hours later after the actual console release. And in some cases like Australia, it seems to be almost 24 hours after the initial console release, which does make sense since NZ can play so early comparative to other releases. In fact, the New Zealand trick allowed you to actually play the game before the embargo dropped for the reviews. However, we did also have those review drops, the embargo went away, as well as the NDA. I was also provided a Steam/PC key from Hexworks and CI Games, so I will be playing that on PC through Steam as soon as my game is done downloading, which should happen here soon. And yeah, I was provided that key around the same time as the embargo dropping, so you might start to see a lot of PC footage and a lot of people playing on Steam if they received that early access and that review code. There's also been some people that have already received their copy early. There's been a few posts on that with PlayStation players and some Xbox people that have received their copies. So if you are wanting to avoid spoilers, now might be the time to kind of tune out of social media. Now, as I said earlier, those reviews did drop and we got a ton of them. They are very wild and mixed and definitely out there for some. Seems like most of the reviewers are around 8 to 9, in some cases mostly around lower 8s. We do have a few edge cases like a 9.4 as well as a 4 out of 10 and even a 2 out of 5 from Eurogamer. Now, in the case of Eurogamer, they do mention that there is some performance woes in Souls-like cliches that just kind of let it down from either like an Elden Ring or another Souls-like game. However, I would be curious, as they did play this on a PS5, so I am curious on how the performance would be on Xbox as well as PC. We do have a post here from a reviewer who has been playing, it seems like somewhat early, where he did mention that the newest patch today actually did increase PC performance by quite a bit. Now, from the looks of it, a lot of these reviewers did not play on PC, but they played on the console platform. Now, people do say that the PS5 is a bit better performing, or at least that's what's been noted in comments. However, that does have me questioning the Eurogamer sentencing there, if that does apply to all platforms, and if we will see performance issues on all platforms. Now, the great thing about this is that Lords of the Fallen does actually support both DLSS 3 and FSR 3. It does seem like the backlash from Starfield, and as well as kind of the backlash in general from not including DLSS, has definitely made a dent in there, so now we are finally receiving both FSR and DLSS on games that are either branded by both, or at least when it's sponsored by their opposing side, they are receiving both of those technologies now in this case. And we do have one notable performance graph here, however, it is with DLSS on and as well as showcasing it off. It does seem like DLSS will probably be a must for most people, especially if you're trying to play at 4K, seeing as a 4070 is struggling to even hit 30 FPS at 4K. Would like to see what those numbers are at 1440p, which I do think is more of a sweet spot for gaming. It also looks like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X will be getting two modes, one with 1440p at 30 FPS, and the performance mode being at 1080p 60 FPS. I am curious if that is using FSR or dynamic resolution. I do assume so. So those resolutions more than likely will not be native for the actual PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I've gone over this in plenty of videos about how FSR being forced on consoles I do not agree with, and hope that they kind of get rid of that eventually, or at least allow the option for people to play at native resolution and just kind of get rid of FSR, as the visual degradation from FSR is just way too much in my opinion, at least comparative to DLSS. Also for Intel, it looks like there is no XESS option as of right now. There's a lot of options here with the FSR quality, DLSS, super resolution. We have some frame generation toggles as well as the NIS toggling. So definitely a broad range here, and more than likely if you are using XESS, you probably will use FSR 3, although I have heard that XESS is a better performance and looks visually better. However, we'll have to see how that compares to FSR 3 as well as the other things there. Now it does look like we actually did receive 2 hotfixes, or at least a hotfix plus a day 1 patch. Now a poster on Reddit showcased that they had a 9.2 gigabyte update on the PS5 version, which also looks like they got an additional update for 1.007, which is 770 megabytes. Now this seems to be both on the PS5, both of these updates. Xbox has yet to receive any of these updates, or at least from multiple commenters, it seems like they haven't received these hotfixes in day 1 patch yet, which does seem a bit odd that you could play it earlier on the Xbox using the NZ trick, or at least more people can do that way. Whereas with the PlayStation 5, you actually have to live in New Zealand to do this trick or do the whole account thing. Some other late minute mentionables, I did forget to go over that the PC version actually doesn't have a pre-download at this moment. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any pre-download for Steam, which is super unfortunate, especially since it's not an update or any DLC type of stuff. I know BG3 had issues coming out of early access and wasn't able to pre-download because of that. However, in this case, the game doesn't have any of the stuff like that, so it is a little bit odd that it doesn't have any pre-downloading through Steam. However, it's not the largest game. It's around the same size of Assassin's Creed Mirage, which looks to be around 32 gigabyte download that gets extracted and decompressed into 34 gigabytes. So not a ton of crazy compression there. We'll knock about 2 gigabytes off your download time. However, nothing crazy substantial with the decompression, so you won't need the craziest SSD to get the compression rate being very quick. Sometimes games are compressed quite significantly, which means you'll need a decently fast SSD or an NVMe to kind of keep up with the speeds, at least for a fast installation time. However, in this case, yeah, it's only compressed by about 2 gigabytes. And again, once this video does go live, I will be playing on PC. Not sure if I'm going to do a live stream, probably more than likely not. However, if you guys are curious on the PC performance as well as how it kind of plays on PC and the controls, I will be trying to answer as many questions as I can down below in the comments. I'll probably make an updated comment later, kind of how my experience is on PC and if there is any control issues or anything of performance issues or anything of that nature. I'm also curious if you guys are picking this game up and on what platform you're going to be playing on. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated if there is any more hotfixes today or any more updates, and when Xbox will be getting that update, as well as if GeForce gets the update. I know it does typically take about a day or two after the game's initial release for GeForce to actually get it on there, so we'll have to see and wait on that one. That's it about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe, and it's a nice one. Deuces.